What up, YouTube? Knowledge of self-determination. So look, I want to talk more about the peaceful protest that Colin Kaepernick started, because there seems to be a lot of information that is lost in translation, and I'm going to try to really get to the point and not beat around the bush. So I'm gonna go ahead and get right into it, right? So there are some things that are lost in translation. There is a disconnect between white America and black America. There is a disconnect. And I discovered that today whilst talking to two of my colleagues, right? I was, at one of the built facilities downtown, and me and one of my colleagues' conversation kind of evolved into the topic of the Colin Kaepernick protest. And I explained to him, he was like, but he didn't have to make it about the flag. And I'm like, dude, he didn't make the protest about the flag. This is what Colin Kaepernick's protest was about. The mistreatment, violence, and murders of innocent black people, men, women, and children who have been murdered at the hands of white police officers. And these people haven't been punished. That's what the protest was about. That's why he protested, to bring attention, I should say, to that situation. To bring attention to it, using his platform to bring attention to a situation that America largely was ignoring. They were not talking about this. This was not an issue for CNN or Fox News or CBS or NBC. This was not an issue for these people until people started making noise about it, like with the Black Lives Matter movement, so on and so forth. Now, he made it an issue. He made it a point to say, well, he didn't have to make it about the flag. But listen to this though, right? Now, some of these things that I did say, and some of these things I didn't think about until after, when I was talking to another brother about this, right? But I did point out to these individuals that it was two individuals at this time, me and two other white people, white colleagues of mine. And in that conversation, I realized that this in microcosm is the disconnect, because some white people just don't get it, and some white people don't give a fuck about getting it, because all they want to see and all they want to know is all they see and all they know. And that's it. No matter how much you try to make a point, even if you get them stumped to the point where they do not have a rebuttal for what you say, they will not say, you know what, I do understand that. So, now in talking to these two people, right, I explained to them, listen, you know why this is a national issue? Don't make it about the flag, because the police are their own entity. They don't operate on the federal level. You know what I'm saying? They are a private entity for the most part. And this is true. This is true. They do not operate on the federal level. However, the ideals of the Constitution, because every state in the Union has its own constitution and thereby have their own laws, but none of those laws or constitutions can come in conflict with the nation's constitution, right? Those are some of the things. Those are just the rules, right? You cannot come in conflict with the actual constitution of the land itself. So all the laws and constitutions are based off of the constitution of the country, the United States Constitution. So they all have to follow under the guidelines and or parameters of the Constitution, right? So all the laws in your state have to be legal so far as the Constitution is concerned. All of the different amendments in the Constitution cannot be violated, basically. So when, let's take the I don't know the white supremacist's name, and I don't give a fuck right now. But the man that killed Tamir Rice was a kid. He was murdered by a grown-ass man. This case went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court did not rule against this man. They did not find him guilty, liable, or anything, or any other adjective that you want to associate with a person being found not guilty or whatever, right? That makes it a national issue because, mind you, the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. The Supreme Court is 1/3 of the three branches of the United States government. They are the judiciary branch of the government, along with the legislature and along with the executive branch. So and this is how it connects to the flag and the Constitution, because the Constitution right? Pretty much is the law of the land. The three branches of the government are the three individual bodies who work in conjunction to uphold the Constitution. And the United States flag is a symbol of the Constitution, the government, and the ideals that America are supposed to represent. And police officers are there to serve and protect. I did say this to them. If they're there to serve and protect, what are they there to serve and protect? The law and the people, or just the law itself? Because the law in your city or state is based off of the Constitution of America, even if it is a private organization that is hired to uphold those laws. That is still what they are there for. Right? Don't cops wear flag emblems and stick pins on their lapels? Don't, when cops get murdered, they get buried with an American flag? They're considered American heroes? Sure, they're not representative of the federal government themselves or governed by it to a certain degree. However, they do operate under the premise that they are here to uphold, serve, and protect the people and the law, right? Because that's what they do. When you violate the code or the law, they are there to arrest you for it. So they do represent the law of the land, the Constitution, even in the most loosest forms. So when a cop when a case gets escalated to the Supreme Court and that officer is not found guilty of murdering an innocent, unarmed child, that is a issue for this country. That's an issue for this country. To make more of an issue of Colin Kaepernick utilizing his First Amendment right to peaceably assemble and peaceably protest, which is not a violation of the United States flag code. Look it up. You can find this shit. The United States flag code, leaving your flag out all day and all night, is a violation of the United States flag code. So a weathered and torn flag is in violation. Folding a flag the wrong way is a violation. Balling it up, spitting on it, stepping on it, pissing on it, pouring liquids on it, setting it on fire. These things are a violation of the flag and could be seen as treason. Along with the Confederate flag. Yeah, I said it. The Confederate flag is fucking treason. And this is why. Because, see, when America was in its infancy, the Confederation, they separated from the Union and became their own sovereign nation, waving their battle flag of that blue and white cross with the stars with the red around it. It's a battle flag. Robert E. Lee said that the Union was his sworn enemies, and he meant to stay separated and kill as many of them as possible. During the Civil War, 110 Union troops were killed in this battle. The Confederacy lost. So to honor the people of the Confederacy, to wave their flags in this country, first off, is a flag of losers, and it's treasonous because you lost. You lost. But Americans, white America, is making more of an issue of Colin Kaepernick not disrespecting the flag, but actually showing the flag some respect by actually showing up and being there in the presence of the flag and the national anthem. Him turning his back on the flag or walking out as the national anthem is played is something completely different. Or not coming out of the locker room altogether, which a lot of you motherfuckers seem to not to remember, that teams didn't even used to be on the field for the national anthem. This is some new shit to the 21st century. That's not how the game was always played. The fuck out of here. But some of you goofy motherfuckers don't even realize this shit or even understand the history of the country you say you're a patriot for. The Confederate flag is fucking treason. To wave it, to honor it, to worship it, and the monuments is treason. Colin Kaepernick did not commit treason. So why the fuck is he seen as more of an enemy of the state than the treasonous, traitorous, treacherous ass Confederate flaggers? That shit is treason. Colin Kaepernick did what he did, which was within his rights as a citizen of this nation. The First Amendment protects his right to peacefully peaceably assemble and peaceably protest. And veterans are looking down on him, but you fought for him to have that right. You went to war to protect our liberty. The Constitution is what gives us and gives us our liberty. Our government is supposed to govern that liberty. You supposedly went and fought wars to protect that liberty. The First Amendment, to actually be able to peaceably assemble and protest, is protected by the Constitution of the United States. So how can a man who is within his constitutional right to do so more treasonous than fuckers who wave a Confederate flag, who lost the fucking war and commit treasonous violent acts every day in this country? How the fuck is that more patriotic than Colin Kaepernick? Please explain that to me, because I really want to know. I really need to understand how that is. You let me know. You tell me what the fuck the deal is, so that I can get a better understanding. Because as far as I know, the disconnect that exists between blacks and whites on this issue is always going to exist, because white America does not want to listen to what the fuck we gotta say. All they want you to do is shut the fuck up and listen to what they tell you to do. And that's not how this shit is supposed to work. But there is a disconnect. And you can't tell me that Colin Kaepernick is more against the United States flag than the Confederacy is. Because if they had their way, they topple the government and they take down that flag and burn it and put up the Confederate flag. I'm sure a lot of them would. So who is more wrong? Who is the worst? Who is actually the enemy of the state here? The man who was operating within the confines of the Constitution, or the group of people who pretty much say fuck the Constitution and the flag, we want our own shit? Because remember, the Confederacy, they had their own laws, they had their own Constitution, they had their own everything, they had their own economy. You understand this? But I know most of you don't know this, because most of you are allergic to fucking books. Most of you are allergic to reading. So you don't know this shit. Read a fucking book and maybe you'll understand something. Let me ask you one thing though. In fact, I'm not even going to ask a question. Yeah, I'm going to ask a question. How the fuck do you consider yourself patriotic when you know very little about this country? That the Bessie Ross flag, the one that was accepted in 1792, isn't the first version of the flag. In fact, her version of the flag is a copyright of, god damn it, I don't want to say his name wrong, but it was a gentleman who actually created the Stars and Stripes, you know, as we know them today. Bessie Ross did the flag with the stars in a circle, right? But man, I cannot remember this kid's name, but his flag came first. Now, we were still slaves then, 1700s, right? When the Revolutionary War was won, right? We were still slaves, right? When America gained its independence from Great Britain, we were still slaves, right? So 4th of July doesn't represent anything for black people. The flag doesn't represent anything for us. Let's see. Now, we got the War of 1812 when Francis Scott Key actually composed the national anthem with that racist ass third verse that they I hope that's not too loud, that they took out so that the truth could be hidden. Why did we go to war? Why did America go to war with Great Britain during the Battle of 1812? I'll tell you why. Because Canada was, and I believe still is, a British colony. Great Britain had abolished slavery. And in doing so, abolished slavery in all of its territories. America wanted to fight Great Britain and take Canada away from Great Britain so that slaves would not have a safe haven on North American soil, right? That's why the War of 1812 was fought. That's part of the reason why that verse was in the national anthem when Francis Scott Key, racist ass, wrote that shit. So the national anthem doesn't represent black sovereignty. It doesn't represent anything for us. The flag doesn't represent us, our freedom or independence. The War of Independence doesn't represent us because it wasn't being fought for us. And the Civil War wasn't even fought over fucking slavery. At least not the way you think, because emancipation only changed the nature of slavery from personal to state-owned. They made it illegal for you to own a slave personally, but they didn't make it illegal for the state to own slaves. So for all you jackasses out there, all you patriots who think you know something about this country, please read a fucking book, study U.S. history, because you don't know what the fuck you think you know. Everything you are screaming about is based off of your fucked up opinion of bullshit you've been spoon-fed all your life. I really didn't want to do as much cursing in this video as I did, but that's just the way the fucking cookie crumbles.